Tell me you weren't just as nervous as the other night. Canadiens have a 4-2 lead, Canucks score, and all of a sudden it's 4-3 and you think, uh-oh, could the same thing happen again? Well, this time it didn't. The Canadiens leave Vancouver with a 4-3 win over the Vancouver Canucks, and it is time for us to talk some post-game puck. Hey gang, Costa here from PuckTalk Montreal on this October 25th edition of the post-game show where the Montreal Canadiens come away from Vancouver with a 4-3 win over the Canucks in a game that at the beginning looked like Montreal was going to be a little lethargic and lack a little bit of energy because after all, this is their third game in 4 nights, and that's always tough to get away from, right? But they managed to persevere, coming away with a 4-3 win and looking good while doing it, including addressing some things that we thought weren't going very well to start the season. Before we get into the highlights, let's talk about one of our partners, and that is, of course, Instacustoms. They're your number one destination for custom apparel printing, the highest rated print shop in Canada with over 3,000 Google reviews, a 4.9-star rating, and they were nominated for a 2024 Canadian Business Choice Award. They print on all your favorite clothing, plus coffee and travel mugs, and they even offer embroidery. Most orders are printed and shipped the very same day, and large orders in less than 3 days with free shipping. Open 7 days a week, they're located downtown on Stanley Street. Easy to remember because it ties in with the Habs' ultimate goal of winning the Stanley Cup. So whether it's for yourself, a loved one, or your business, remember to trust Instacustoms. Visit them in person or order online at instacustoms.com. And don't forget, folks, with the holiday season coming around, nothing says I love you like a custom t-shirt from Instacustoms. Make your own design, send it in, and Nick and his team will be ready to make it and have it ready to go under the Christmas tree. Now, let's get to the highlights. Early in the hockey game, just about 4:40 into the game, the Canucks strike first. And who else? One of the guys that I said the Canadiens need to watch very closely, and that is Elias Pettersson. The thing about this play, though, is it was a little bit broken, and the pass managed to get through to Pettersson right there, and nobody was expecting it to get through. You take a look at Ivan Demidov in front, and he was covering his man in front of the net, but the puck got through, and it gets by him and goes over to Pettersson to make it 1-0 for the Canucks. Not much Dobish could do there. Not much anybody could do there because the assignment was to get the guy in front. That was taken, and then the puck got through to Pettersson, who was the secondary option on that play. Much like the goal at the 2002 Olympics scored by Joe Sakic, right? When Iginla let it through. Anyhow, that was a long time ago, and some of you may not have been born yet. God, it's hard to say that. Now, things continued at 1-0 through the rest of the first period. And in the second period, just ahead of the Canucks taking a 2-0 lead, Josh Anderson rang one off the goalpost shorthanded. But the puck came back down the ice, as it always does for some freaking way. And Jake DeBrust deflected a shot from the blue line to make it 2-0. Here it is. Hughes with the blast. DeBrust coming out from below the red line to the front of the net and deflecting it past Dobish to make it 2-0. Again, a nice tip in front. Not much Dobish could do there. So it's 2-0. And you know what? I think most of Canadiens Nation kind of reserved to the sense that, they're going to lose to the Canucks tonight. I didn't believe that for a second. The Canadiens got a power play with about 14 minutes left in the period, and it was the captain getting the Habs on the board with a power play goal set up by Ivan Demidov. Puck goes to Demidov here from Caulfield, and he gets it over to Suzuki, who pops it home. Here's another look at it. Caulfield down low. Suzuki back to the point. There's a shot. And there you go. That made it 2-1. And again, the second period ended. It's 2-1. There's hope. And if there's one thing we know about the Montreal Canadiens, they're extremely strong in the third period. So what happens? Well, another power play to start the third period. And who else but Juraj Slafkovsky scoring on the power play? There's a shot by Hudson, Demidov to Slafkovsky. That makes it 2-2. Watch again as a shot comes in from the blue line from Hudson, Demidov to Slafkovsky. And as Slafkovsky gets a shot away, he gets a stick hacked on, and the blade comes flying towards that camera. Nonetheless, it's 2-2. We have a brand new hockey game. Then, at the 8:19 mark, Mike Matheson's turn to get on the board for the Montreal Canadiens. And on a play where he made a stutter step, and he made one of the Pettersson defensemen, I forget which one of the two it is. Hang on. Let me see here. It was Elias Pettersson. There you go. He made him look extremely bad because Pettersson flinched badly. Watch this. Matheson at the blue line gets the puck from Carrier. Watch. Ooh. Did you notice? He just completely lost his balance. Here it is again. Puck to Matheson from Carrier. Fakes. Whoops. And he scores. And on top of that, there was the flyby screen in front of the net, which got into the goaltender's face. So, everything working out, the Canadiens getting a 3-2 lead. And then, at 11:09 of the third period, the eventual game winner scored by who? Ivan Demidov. Watch this clapper from the dot. Bang! And that's in off the shin guard of the defenseman. It didn't go straight in. You'll see here the defenseman gets his leg out, and he claps it right by him. It hits him. For a while, I thought it went off the side of the goaltender's head, just the way he reacted. But instead, it went off the defenseman's shin, and that's what kind of threw the goaltender's timing off. That made it 4-2. And that's how it stayed until 16:13 of the third, when Connor Garland tips beautifully. Call it a shot pass from Elias Pettersson. Hughes to Elias Pettersson, Pettersson to the slot, and a tip up high from Garland. Those are probably the most dangerous and impossible tips to stop. Stick down, tip, goal. And of course, traffic in front of Dobish. But that's all she wrote. The Canucks couldn't score with the empty net, and the Canadiens come away with Vancouver with a 4-3 win and head over to Seattle to take on the Kraken on Tuesday night. Now, we're not going to look at that game, but let's take a look at what happened in tonight's game and analyze the play. And as we do that, as always, we want to thank our other sponsor, and that is InstaCustoms. Proudly Canadian and trusted by thousands of customers, InstaCustoms delivers unbeatable value. You'll always get the lowest prices, plus same-day shipping, even next-day delivery, so your orders arrive fast. With over 1,000 products and more than 36 trusted brands, the selection is unmatched. CheapestT-shirts.ca is the go-to source for businesses, events, apparel printing companies, and resellers, or people just looking for the best deals on everyday clothing. Plus, enjoy free shipping on large orders and a simple, easy-to-use website that makes ordering online a breeze. Get the cheapest deals in Canada today at CheapestT-shirts.ca. So what went right for the Montreal Canadiens? Well, let's start first of all with what went wrong. 3 games in 4 nights. What went wrong is the Canadiens really, when you get emotional during a hockey game like they did on Saturday night against on Thursday night against the Oilers, it tends to play with your energy levels, because anytime you get emotionally charged, there's a come down. It's like, I would say getting stoned, but I've never been stoned in my life. But, you know what I'm saying. You get that high and then you come down really fast afterwards. And that's kind of where they were, because everybody was emotionally charged after that loss to the Oilers 6-5 the other night, including yours truly and most of the fan base that was watching. But when you take a look at the Canadiens, they started out really slow. And as the game progressed, you could see that the energy started to build, especially after Nick Suzuki scored. The change in the team's demeanor was palpable. You could see that they were playing with a little bit more energy. They were, starting to make plays. And it went from line 1 through line 4. You saw Josh Anderson ring one off the goalpost. He got his chance. Bolduc, Doc, and Joe Veleno. That looks like a really solid line for the Montreal Canadiens. And then, of course, you've got Kapanen, Demidov, and Alex Newhook, and of course the first line with Caulfield, Suzuki, and Slafkovsky. There's nothing to say that, they played poorly. Of course, Arbor Xhekaj, who we love because he likes to beat the crap out of people, took another, you call it a dumb penalty, but it's not dumb. It's just uncalled for. And so that lack of discipline, along with him chirping the referee afterwards, that drew the ire of Marty St. Louis, and that's why he glued him to the bench in the third period. It's a learning lesson. Now, there are some people post-game that were saying that they expect Mark Del Gaizo to be in. I don't know if the Canadiens are going to fly Del Gaizo out just to take on, just to bench Arbor Xhekaj so Del Gaizo gets in. He's not on the trip anymore. He's back with the Laval Rocket. But I think sitting Arbor Xhekaj in the third period, having a talk with him post-game is enough to get him back playing the way he should. Because just the other night, he played extremely well. And so if he's as emotionally charged in this game as the rest of the team was, then I could see him taking that penalty. And that's been kind of the Achilles heel for Arbor Xhekaj, is his emotions. If he could control them and keep them in check, he'll be in the penalty box less. He'll make less emotionally drawn penalties, and he'll play better. I have no doubt. So I don't think he deserved to be benched. It's one game, right? Leave it alone. He learned his lesson in the third period. Let's see what he does against the Kraken on Tuesday. But Del Gaizo, really? That's where you want to go? I would have much rather brought up Adam Engstrom, but, to each their own, I guess. Given the fact that Del Gaizo has experience in Nashville, I guess that's the reason why they wanted to bring him up. But anyway, let's get away from that. Let's take a look at some of the positives from Montreal Canadiens in this hockey game, and that starts with the power play. And it's not necessarily because the power play went 2 for 3 tonight. It's because of what I saw in the power play. Number one, the fact that Ivan Demidov is there, that's freaking fantastic. You know he can play. You know with open ice, he can create passing lanes. He can feed guys like Suzuki, like Caulfield. We've seen it already. So the fact that he's there, I think, was inevitable. I don't know if the Canadiens wanted to get him there that early, but given the fact that the second unit was kind of in shambles because of the Laine injury, and we'll get to that later, I think it was time to bring Demidov up and let him progress with that first unit. That being said, one of the thing I love the most is the fact that time after time after time on the power play, Lane Hutson started shooting the puck. And as you saw, on every single one of the scoring chances the Canadiens got, it wasn't necessarily because the shots got on goal and hit the goaltender. They came in, they were blocked, they fell towards another player, and they generated scoring opportunities. You saw it. Lane Hutson takes a shot, bounces, it hits Demidov in front of the net. He takes the puck, gives it to Slafkovsky, puck's in the back of the net. Those plays don't happen if Lane Hutson doesn't shoot the puck. And so the fact that he's shooting the puck is a plus. And because he's having success and it's leading to more goals, I guarantee you he's going to start shooting the puck more. He's no idiot. He'll see it and he'll say, you know what? It's working. I don't have to let go of a big bomb from the blue line. I just have to get it towards the net and let sleeping dogs lie and let everything fall into place. And that's exactly what he did tonight. To boot, you saw Mike Matheson shoot from that very same area and use a play we saw from Lane Hutson a little bit earlier in the season, where he flinched, did a double take, skated towards the middle, threw the defenseman off, and fired a puck into the top corner. I mean, those are small little things and small little details that you might miss from time to time, but they were very important in the success of the power play tonight and at 5-on-5. And then, of course, there is the absolute dominance tonight of Ivan Demidov. You know, there's a reason why they call him demigod, and it's not because of his good looks, although he's not an ugly kid. I mean, a goal and 2 assists tonight. He sets up 2. He gets the game winner. This was his breakout party. This is where he announced to the world, you know what, guys? Put me with the best guys on my team, and I'm going to be able to deliver. People are comparing him to guys like Kucherov. That speaks volumes. And the one thing about Demidov that throughout the last 3-4 years is that no matter where he's been, whether it's been Ska's junior team or Ska's KHL team or with the Montreal Canadiens, he's been among the best players and he's been the youngest player on the team. So when you see this stuff coming from a kid, keep in mind that it's all gonna, it's gonna be infectious. His joie de vivre and the way he smiles when he plays the game, and he plays it the way it's supposed to be played, in the offensive zone, in the defensive zone with and without the puck. There's not a place on the ice that Ivan Demidov does not try to do his best, no matter what the situation. Offensively, we know when he has the puck on his stick, he's magical. But defensively, he gets back on the back check. He's always in good position. And he tries to get the puck back as quickly as possible by pressuring puck carriers. That's all you want from a forward. And that's what you're getting from Ivan Demidov. And tonight's game was just absolutely magical. Perfect. You couldn't ask for anything more from the kid. Except for maybe a hat trick, but, I'm not going to ask for too much. But the fact that he was feeding his teammates, the fact that he scored on his own, the fact that he was playing well defensively, there's no denying that Demidov might be in the running for the Calder this year, but there's no denying that he's going to be a superstar for plenty of years to come. Keep in mind, okay, when you think about superstars, even Guy Lafleur in the first 2 years in the NHL, people wanted to get rid of him, right? Now, I'm not saying people want to do that with Demidov, but they were so unhappy with Lafleur. He came in from Quebec, the Ramparts, that is, of the QMJHL, highly touted. The Canadiens wanted him and took him first overall. They got that pick, those picks, or that actual pick from the California Golden Seals in a crazy trade. Remember, they traded for the first overall pick and they traded for LA's second overall pick just to make sure they had the first overall pick. Imagine. So they got Guy Lafleur. He came in, first couple of years, wasn't producing at the clip that they expected. Third season, breakout year. And I'm not saying it's going to take 3 years for Ivan Demidov to break out. I think he's going to be able to do that this season, given the fact that he's playing on a line as productive as Newhook and Kapanen. And now that he's on the first wave of the power play, it's freaking great. So let's see what more the kid can do. But let's not put too much pressure on him, right? Let him progress. Okay, we know how the city can eat young players up and spit them out. So let's enjoy what he's doing right now and not push it too hard. Now, finally, we come to the big news of the day that was announced prior to the hockey game, and that is that Patrik Laine is going to be out 3 to 4 months with an abdominal injury. Was it 3 to 4 months or 3 to 4 weeks? I didn't read that properly, I don't think, did I? Okay, let me see this again. Because I read somewhere he's supposed to be back before Christmas. No, that's not. That's an old article. It's 3 to 4 months. There you go, according to NHL.com. So he may be back after Christmas in January or maybe after the Olympics. Who knows? But here's the thing that I wanted to get to. It's not necessarily that, he got injured. And there's a lot of people saying it jeopardizes his future with the Canadiens. If he can't come back from this injury, then perhaps it does. But the one thing that a lot of people are cheering the fact that Patrik Laine got injured. I'm disgusted with you people. If there's one thing that you never want, whether the player plays for you or not, you don't want his career ending prematurely, and you don't want him leaving town, on a bad note, on a sour note. And here's the thing about Ivan Demidov that everybody's like, oh, well, good. Now the Canadiens are going to be able to move on without him. You all forget that until he came back and started popping power play goals like a druggie pops pills, that this team was going nowhere, right? You're forgetting that part. And so the boost that he gave this team and the belief that he gave this team counts for nothing. It doesn't, you're all focusing on the fact that at 5-on-5, he wasn't great last year, but he still scored 20 goals in, 52 games. That's nothing to scoff at. And yeah, everybody knew when the Canadiens acquired Patrik Laine that he did not have a defensive game at all. But then this season, everybody started complaining about Patrik Laine because he was given instructions to work on his defensive game with whoever his line mates were. It was Anderson and Evans. And everybody complained, oh, he's not scoring. He wasn't supposed to be. He wasn't being counted on to score at 5-on-5. What he was told to was to work on his defensive coverage. And he was doing just that until his injury. So the fact that some people are happy about the fact that Patrik Laine is gone, you're disgusting. Why would you think like that? Honestly. You're talking about a guy who's coming back from probably the worst, like some of the worst mental issues that you can understand. He came back from a knee injury last year that wasn't even his fault. It was some schlub from the Toronto Maple Leafs that stuck his knee out on him. And yet everybody was blaming him because of his skating style. There are a lot of guys that skate like that in the league that don't move their legs to move up the ice, that make small, little C cuts and just bend their knees. Sidney Crosby's one of them. Have you ever noticed that? That sometimes when Crosby's coming in, he wiggles his ass so he can move up the ice? That's how Patrik Laine skates when he's in the offensive zone. Sometimes you have better puck control when you're not moving your legs and just gliding in, right? That's what Patrik Laine does. He gets into the zone and he uses short little C-cuts to continue to skate. But yet everybody's happy because Patrik Laine is injured and he's not going to be in the Canadiens lineup. I don't know what to say to these people. And a lot of people are going to deny it. They're going to say, oh, well, you know what? I don't wish anybody to be injured. But, there are certain people in the French media that are probably extremely happy that Patrik Laine is not in the lineup anymore. Jean-Charles. Why? Because they have their own agendas. They want their own players in there. They want guys like Joshua Roy to get a chance. And yet Joshua Roy comes up to the Canadiens on this road trip and does sweet nothing as far as contribute. So the minute Kirby Dach was ready to play, hasta luego, dude. I mean, like I've said, Joshua Roy is a good hockey player, but like the guy he looks like, Jonathan Drouin, their problem is between their own ears. And until such time as they clean that up and they understand that the world does not revolve around them and they're not the best player on the team every night of the week, that's the only time they're going to realize that they need to work to earn their positions, whether in Roy's case it's the NHL or otherwise. And granted, Drouin has gotten off to a good start this season, but he spent how many years in Montreal and did nothing? Yeah, I yelled enough during those years to not have to repeat myself again. So I hope Patrik Laine has a speedy recovery and feels great when he comes back so he can tell all the naysayers to buzz off. And I hope he comes back and scores 15 power play goals after his return so that everybody can turn around and say, yeah, we missed that. That's all I want. So for all of you out there, just to understand, tomorrow I'm taking a break. I'm making a couple of upgrades here in the studio. And so that you guys can have, a little bit of a better experience watching the show. And we'll be back on Monday where I'll look at some of the things that happened over the past week and we'll preview the game on Tuesday night against the Seattle Kraken. Thanks once again to instacustoms.com and cheapesttshirts.ca. And like I said, we'll see you on Monday.